The Frog Prince by the Brothers Grimm. Once upon a time, a young princess went out to take a walk by herself in a wood, and when she came to a cool spring of water, she sat herself down to rest a while. Now she had a golden ball in her hand, which was her very favourite plaything, and she was always tossing it up into the air and catching it again as it fell. After a time, she threw it up so high that the ball fell down into the spring. The princess looked into the spring after the ball, but it was very deep, so deep that she could not see the bottom of it. And then she cried, "Alas, if I could only get my ball again, I would give all my fine clothes and jewels and everything that I have in the world." Suddenly a frog put its head out of the water and said, "Princess, why do you weep so bitterly?" "Alas," said she, "what can you do for me, you nasty frog? My golden ball has fallen into the spring." But the frog said, "I want not your pearls and jewels and fine clothes, but if you will love me and let me live with you and eat from off your golden plate and sleep upon your bed, I will bring you your ball again." "What nonsense this silly frog is talking," thought the princess. "I will tell him he shall have what he asks." So she said to the frog, "Well, if you bring me my ball, I will do as you ask." Then the frog put his head down and dived deep under the water, and after a little while he came up again with the ball in his mouth and threw it on the edge of the spring. As soon as the young princess saw her ball, she ran to pick it up, and she was so overjoyed to have it in her hand again that she never thought of the frog, but ran home with it as fast as ever she could. The frog called after her, "Stay, princess, and take me with you as you promised." But she did not stop to hear a word. The next day, just as the princess had sat down to dinner, she heard a strange noise. Tap, tap, plash, plash, ribbit, as if something was coming up the marble staircase. And soon afterwards there was a knock at the door, and a little voice cried out and said, "Open the door, my princess dear, open the door to thy true love here, and mind the words that thou and I said by the fountain cool in the greenwood shade." Then the princess ran to the door and opened it, and there she saw the frog, whom she had quite forgotten. At this sight she was frightened, and shutting the door as fast as she could, came back to her seat. The king, her father, asked her what was wrong. "There's a nasty frog at the door that lifted my ball for me out of the spring this morning. I told him that he should live with me here, thinking that he could never get out of that spring. But there he is at the door, and he wants to come in." While she was speaking, the frog knocked again at the door and said, "Open the door, my princess dear, open the door to thy true love here, and mind the words that thou and I said by the fountain cool in the greenwood shade." Then the king said to her, "As you have given your word, so must you keep it. Go, let him in." She did so, and the frog hopped into the room, tap, tap, plash, plash, ribbit, till he came up close to the table where she was sitting. "Pray lift me up on the chair, let me sit next to you." As soon as she had done this, the frog said, "Pray put your plate nearer to me that I may eat of it." This she did, and when he had eaten as much as he could, he said, "Now I am tired. Pray carry me upstairs, put me into your bed." And the princess, though very unwilling, took him up in her hand, put him upon the pillow of her own bed, where he slept all the night long. As soon as it was light, he jumped up, hopped downstairs, and went out of the house. "Now then," thought the princess, "at last he is gone. I shall be troubled with him no more." But she was mistaken, for when the night came again, she heard the same tapping at the door, and the frog came once more and said, "Open the door, my princess dear, open the door to thy true love here, and mind the words that thou and I said by the fountain cool in the greenwood shade." When the princess opened the door, the frog came in and slept upon her pillow as before till the morning broke. And the third night he did the same. But when the princess awoke on the following morning, she was astonished to see, instead of the frog, a handsome prince standing at the head of her bed. He told her that he had been enchanted by a spiteful fairy who had changed him into a frog, and that the charm would last till some princess should take him out of the spring, let him eat from her plate, sleep upon her bed for 3 nights. You have broken it, and now I have nothing to wish for but that you should go with me to my father's kingdom, where I will marry you and love you forever. The young princess was not long in saying yes to all of this, and as they spoke, a coach drove up with 8 beautiful horses, decked with plumes of feathers and a golden harness. They then took their leave of the king, got into the coach, and set out full of joy and merriment for the prince's kingdom, which they reached safely, and there they lived happily ever after. Good enough. Good night.